The gamer girl, who looks like she hasn't slept in 3 days, and somehow survives entirely on instant noodles and Oxy-Cola. And yet, this became one of the most recognizable starter ship girls in Azur Lane. Mostly because, well, she's literally one of the first main fleet ships the game gives you by default. If you played Azur Lane long enough, chances are Long Island was probably carrying your fleet while you had absolutely no idea what you were doing. Meanwhile, she's over there looking like she would rather be playing video games than fighting another battle. Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today we're taking a look at Long Island to see her real-life history, her gameplay/skills to see whether she's still worth using today, and why somehow this sleepy ghost carrier is still the solid pick for mid-game player and really good for beginner who just started the game. So grab your snacks, maybe an Oxy-Cola, and let's get started. Before talking about gameplay, let's first talk about the real USS Long Island. And surprisingly, she was pretty important historically. USS Long Island was originally designated AVG-1, which stood for Auxiliary Aircraft Ferry. Later she became ACV-1, meaning Auxiliary Aircraft Carrier. And finally, in July 1943, she received the designation CVE-1, officially becoming the first escort aircraft carrier of the United States Navy. In Azur Lane, she's one of the first carriers most players get. And in real life, she was also the first escort carrier for the US Navy. Now, unlike larger fleet carriers built specifically for combat, Long Island originally started life as a merchant cargo ship called Mormont. She was launched in 1940 before later being converted into an escort carrier. And while Azur Lane portrays her as lazy and rather play video game all the time, the real ship was actually working constantly. From 1941 to 1942, she was heavily involved in aircraft testing and pilot training operations in the Atlantic, which was extremely important during World War II. You can build all the planes you want, but without trained pilots, they are basically useless. And Long Island helped solve that problem. Then, during August 1942, she participated in supporting the Guadalcanal campaign. She ferried aircraft and launched planes around 200 miles southeast of Guadalcanal to support operations in the region. That may not sound flashy compared to giant naval battles, but escort carriers like Long Island played a massive support role during the war. They transported aircraft, they trained pilots, they provided air support, and they helped keep larger operations running. From 1943 to 1945, after being redesignated as CVE-1, she continued serving mainly as a training and transport carrier in the Pacific. After the war ended, she was decommissioned in 1946. But surprisingly, her story didn't end there. Instead of immediately being scrapped, she was later converted back into a merchant ship under the names Nellie and later Seven Seas. Honestly, that's kind of impressive. Imagine retiring from being the first escort carrier in US Navy history, only to go back to work at a civilian shipping afterward. Now, gameplay-wise, Long Island is exactly what you would expect from an early game carrier. She's simple, easy to use, cheap to run, and surprisingly decent for beginners. But obviously, being an older starter ship also means she struggles in modern late-game content. Still, for newer players, she honestly does her job very well, and that's important. Not every ship needs to be ultra-broken or meta-defining. Sometimes a ship just needs to help new players progress comfortably. And Long Island absolutely does that. Let's start with her level 100 stats. Offensively, she comes with 172 reload, 266 aviation, 235 anti-airs, 94 anti-submarine warfare, and 76 accuracies. For newer players, those stats are honestly pretty decent, especially considering how accessible she is. Defensively, she has medium armor, 4,246 HP, 16 speed, 68 luck, and 57 evasions. And perhaps most importantly for beginners, she only costs 10 oil, which is really useful early on. When you're new to Azur, oil management matters a lot. You don't have unlimited resources. You're constantly farming, and your fleet costs can become painful very quickly. So having a low-cost carrier that still performs reasonably well is extremely valuable, especially when you're trying to clear story chapters or level up ships. At level 120, Long Island starts becoming noticeably more reliable across the board. Her offensive stats get a solid boost, especially her aviation, reload, and anti-air, allowing her to contribute more consistently during battles. Defensively, she also gains more survivability with increased HP and evasion, making her feel a little less fragile compared to her earlier levels. Now, obviously, compared to newly carriers in game, she's not going to compete in raw damage. But Long Island was never really designed to be a high-end damage dealer in the first place. She's meant to be a beginner-friendly support carrier that's easy to use and inexpensive to maintain. And honestly, she performs that role pretty well. For newer accounts and casual players, she can still contribute comfortably in a lot of early and mid-game content. And then we have her level 125 retrofit, which is basically Long Island at her absolute best. Her stats continue improving overall with better aviation, anti-air, reload, survivability, and accuracy. It's not a massive game-changing upgrade, but it definitely helps modernize her and makes her feel smoother and more dependable to use. Does it suddenly turn her into a top-tier endgame carrier? Not really, but it does make investing into Long Island feel more rewarding, especially for players who already enjoy using her. And honestly, her retrofit art is pretty nice too. Now let's talk about her skills. Yes, Long Island only has one skill base. It's pretty straightforward, but it fit for new player is focus on damages. Only when you upgrade her to retrofit version. The second skill will unlock. Her first skill, quick takeoff. When this ship launches an airstrike, 15% chance for the next airstrike to be available immediately. This improves her offensive performance and helps increase her airstrike effectiveness. Her second skill received from her retrofit. Air support. When this ship launches an airstrike, increase the aviation stat of each aircraft carrier and light aircraft carrier in your fleet by 15% for 8 seconds. Note this buff does not apply to the airstrike that triggered by Skill 1. Meanwhile, her Augment module upgrades helped her improve her overall damage deal in Skill 1. Quick Takeoff Long Island is Skill 1 with additional improvements every 20 seconds. 70% chance to launch a level 10 special airstrike. Damages is based on the skills level. If this ship has Eagle Union gear equipped, improves this airstrike. One thing I actually appreciate about Long Island. She is a reliable ship and she likes an instructor for beginner players. She basically just teaches you how to limit breaks, enhancement, retrofits, skill leveling, gear setups, and fleet building. This genuinely useful. Now let's move on to equipment builds. For beginner players, Long Island has plenty of solid and easy-to-obtain options. For fighters, aircraft like the Grumman F-4F Wildcat, Vought F-4U Corsair, and Grumman F-6F Hellcat are all reliable choices. These provide decent performance while being relatively accessible early on. For dive bombers, the Curtiss SB-2C Helldiver and Douglas BTD-1 Destroyer work very well. These are solid beginner options that can comfortably carry you through early and mid-game content. Now for mid-game and endgame players, honestly, you probably don't need to heavily invest into Long Island anymore. There are simply stronger carrier options available. However, if you enjoy using her, meme builds and utility setups can still be pretty fun. One interesting approach is focusing on fast reload planes. Basically, turning Long Island into a utility-focused carrier that launches airstrikes as quickly as possible. For fighters, options like the Messerschmitt Me 155A, Brewster F-2A Buffalo Thatch Squadron, and Mitsubishi A6M50 work nicely. And for dive bombers, Yokosuka D4Y Suisei, and F4U VBF-94 Squadron can help maximize reloading cycles. Will this suddenly make her top tier? Not really, but it can definitely make her more fun. And honestly, sometimes fun matters more than pure optimization. So what makes Long Island so memorable? Honestly, there's also the nostalgia factor too. A lot of older Azur lane players remember Long Island fondly because she helped carry them through the early game. She's extremely beginner-friendly. She's easy to build, easy to use, and doesn't require expensive gear to perform well early on. Her low oil cost also makes farming and progressing through the game much more comfortable for newer players. There's just something about watching a ghost hunting you every day to make you feel lighthearted. I hope you found this review helpful. I'm still pretty new to YouTube myself, so any feedback is greatly appreciated and helps me improve future videos. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know which ship you'd like to see reviewed next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.